We are here live at the studio in Galway called Sound to Light, where we had the Empower conference this morning, and it was an action-packed session full of three key themes. Number one was all around funding. Number two was pursuing freedom and flexibility as well as business growth. And number three was blockchain. So I'm going to give you a quick run through everything that was discussed today so that you can take away some of the key points that were discussed by the speakers. We started off with Anne Ravenona, and she spoke about the funding menu. She said that if funding it's a game, that there is a rule book, there are players and there are a prize. And what we did was that we asked people what feelings they felt around the funding process. And generally they were nauseous, overwhelmed, excited, but there were, that kind of negative connotation of a twinge. So Anne set about changing that. So then what she did was she spoke about that you need perspective, you need process, and you need performance. Then she also said that investors typically look at investees in terms of sector, stage and geography. She said that the best form of funding is always a paying customer, and of course that ideally would be a paying customer that is a profitable transaction. And then we also mentioned there are some opportunities for people to engage with funding supports like the Trading Online Voucher, for example, in Ireland, the Innovation Partnership, which I have to say I'm a personal fan of, and we're on our second one with DCU, and it's absolutely brilliant. Then she also mentioned a range of resources available to people if they're looking for angel investment, including AngelList, Gust, Crunchbase, Astia, Go Beyond, Golden Seeds, etc. She said that what investors want is they want to know who you are, what you do, why you do it, and how you're going to achieve the vision that you set out for them. She also gave a list of major turn-offs, including exaggeration, including arrogance, and not being on the ball when it comes to your numbers and your narrative. And finally, she spoke about building your tribe. In addition, today we had Dr. Orla Flynn from GMIT, and I've seen Orla present a number of times now, and I have to say she always amazes me with the way in which she can take something that has happened relatively recently or take a macroeconomic topic and really make it very concrete and tangible for the audience. Today she said, it's a beautiful day by the way here in Galway, she said, as I came over the bridge today, I was looking at, we were in a foggy day, and she said, as we emerged from the fog of the past 18 months, at least we know now that there was light at the end of the tunnel. She said that as a university, its job is to not just to educate the people that are coming through, but to help towards a just society, bring technology in ways that can help all people across the demographic spectrum, as well as, she said, serving the region. Now, after that then, we moved into a pitch competition, and I'm going to mention the three pitchers in this post, okay, so you can see who they are and you can see exactly what they do. What we had, first of all, we had Carla from for Banterkind, and in fairness to her, the way in which she put forward the idea of what if I am somebody that wants to exchange services or products instead of money, and the way in which she told her story, she really held the pitch right to the centre of what she was speaking about, which is so important when you are pitching to do that. Then we also had Colette, and then we also had Mary McHugh as well. Both of those people are mentioned in this post, and you'll see exactly what they did and the problems that they solved. And we used Mentimeter to determine the winner of that pitch competition, and then that was, of course, shared by all of our audience as well. Then we had a coffee break and we moved straight into talking to Brenda Romero. Now, really interesting woman, shortest Twitter handle that I've ever seen. It was @BR. That's all you need to do to find her. And she was talking about failure and risk. Now, what we did first of all was we asked people to share with us what they were worried about in terms of taking risks. And a lot of the answers were around team. Picking the right team, having the right team, what you need to give in order to get from your team, aligning yourself around, all those sorts of things. They also spoke about failure. They spoke about going beyond your comfort zone, etc. And then the third thing that they were worried about is actually the clarity of the problem or the risk that they were taking at all. And she spoke about all of those. So first of all, she said, if you don't have those concerns, you're actually not doing it right. It's par for the course. So rather than feel alone, if you actually feel that that's part of your journey, it can be very helpful. She spoke about working with people, specifically business partners, where you might be in an equity share, for example. She said to treat that like you would a marriage proposal. She's also married to her business partner, so I think she's extra context on that. She said failure is part of the journey, and to quote her, it is a literal step to success. And she shared some insights with us around how failure has, for her, done two things. Number one, led her into different directions that were helpful, but number two, stripped away her fear. which I thought was interesting, is she said, when you fail and you know what it's like to actually fail, you stop being afraid of it because then you know what's coming. And therefore, she said, from there, she's just really not afraid of it. She spoke as well of her mantra, which is, I'll get what I want, I'll get what I want, I'll get what I want. And the thing is that she also has patience and discipline and action orientation and the mindset to go after what she wants. And she spoke about having conflicting wants and desires and how she has to reprioritize those so that she doesn't get all of those at the expense of something else. Do you know what she also spoke about as well, which I haven't heard anyone mention before, is she said we never put failure into our bios. We don't, do we? We usually put our milestones into our biographies. She said if we put our failures into our biographies, how that would change the narrative around failure and people's perception of it. Then we had Mairead Mackle, fantastic woman as well. And she very candidly spoke about what it has been like to get her on her journey, where she started off wanting to employ one person, and now her business and wider organisation, as she's a charity and a foundation, employs 1,200 people, is in business for 26 years, provides 1 million hours of care and 3,500 bed nights per night, beds per night for people suffering from addiction and homelessness, etc. She said that she really believes in values-based leadership. Again, massively reiterated the perspective of having that team around you and having a trusted team. But she also said it's important to have a trusted brand. She said she doesn't believe in having a hierarchy within the business. She has a senior leadership team, and then there's a variety of other pockets of people within the organisation. Bear in mind this woman has a 1,200 person organisation. She said it's values-based leadership. That is what the hierarchy, if one is to exist, should actually be based on. She spoke about resilience and how it's needed, and like a classic line, a really classic line. She said, so she has 7 children and a variety of other things, like I mentioned, and she said it's a lifestyle not for the faint-hearted. And she is in pursuit of freedom and flexibility to take care of all the other aspects of her life, and she said that her home is the most important department of the business. Now, from there then we went on and we had a conversation around blockchain. Professor Joyce O'Connor came in first to speak about her own experience of building National College of Ireland and what her experience was of the education sector in Ireland over time. She mentioned, and it's important for a day like today, that when you get to be a mature student at age 23, points no longer matter and you have access to whatever education that you would then like to apply for. And she gave us the analogy. She said, blockchain, rather than worrying about what it is, she said what we should do is treat it like we did email, which is rather than wonder how one email got from this computer to that computer, is that what did it do for me instead? She said that, and that's what we need to think about, and that there's a lot of use cases for business, of which we had 2. We had Shane McCarthy from Ireland Craft Beverages, and he spoke about what it's like to use track and trace on from barley to bottle in his beverage business, and that it enables him to show transparency to his customers and to track his supply chain. And Victoria Thompson from Aurora spoke about using blockchain in order to drop the cost of global remittances. And she gave us a couple of really interesting statistics. There's 1.3 million people who are homeless. If they're homeless, of course, they don't have access to an address. She says that there is 13 million people in the UK. Sorry, all of these figures are for the UK. 13 million people in the UK in receipt of benefits. 11 billion pounds of that gets lost by simply moving A to B, moving money from A to B. So then she was talking about the transformative effect of technology in helping dramatically lowering that cost through blockchain. The team today put together a really interesting morning. Of course, I have the best job in the world by having the ringside seat here and being able to have all of these conversations with everyone. Huge interaction on Twitter and on chat and all sorts. Great thanks to European Social Fund, the Department of Justice, GMIT, all of our speakers, Leo Mayo for the mentoring and training prize that they offer to the pitchers, as well as, of course, to our fabulous audience. And one last thing I want to say is thanks a million to everybody as well who helped us share the message that this was possible, including Global Investor, Network Ireland, Swibben, Donegal Women in Business. We also wanted to make the point that the Competitive Start team is now offering a new opportunity for people to participate in their programme, particularly with West Bic. Thanks also to Waken Hub in Ireland together for sharing the message around. And finally, as I say, thank you indeed for watching this summary. It's been an action-packed morning and I hope you've got some actions to take away. Thank you all and goodbye. Whew.